I'm Susan from Sunrise Quilt Studio. In today's video I'm going to show you two different rulers that I use to quilt around applique. The first ruler is the Versatility by Handy Quilter, and this is a new tool for me. I've just bought that this summer and I'm still getting used to it. I found out that it works really well. And the second tool is the Archangel by Mindy Wiley. I've owned this tool for quite a while and it's kind of my go-to tool to quilt around applique. Here is the Handy Quilter's Versatility, and I'm using one of the notches in that tool to quilt around this applique. And I'm going pretty slow because I am not real comfortable with this tool just yet. It's working really well though. It has two notches in it, one for a smaller hopping foot, I believe, and then it has this one that works real well with my Gamble Classic Plus. And it's just a matter of getting a grip on that ruler and going really slowly around the applique, guiding it with the machine, and it's working really well to get really close to the edge of that applique. As you can see here, it's you can hardly see the stitching. It's just working really well. I don't have any grippers on this tool at this time. I wanted to be able to slide, so I didn't put any grippers on this one. There are quite a few angles in this tool. There's a straight edge, there's a right angle cut out of it, there is a convex curve, and there's a concave curve. And I haven't used all of those angles yet, so I can't tell you exactly how each one of them works, but I have used the notch, and I've used the convex and the concave curve both, and they work really well. And I think the trick to quilting around applique is to take your time. And if you're working for others quilting, you want to get your quilting done as quickly as possible, and that's just economics and it makes sense. But there are parts of the quilting where you do need to slow down and take your time. Otherwise you wind up making mistakes and you spend a lot of time ripping out stitches. I once timed myself and I spent 5 minutes quilting and it took me 25 minutes to rip out what I had done. So I do my best not to rip out stitches if I can avoid it. But it happens. It happens on every quilt that I do, and it's happened on this quilt already, and I'm just really getting started on this one. When you're quilting around applique, you can quilt around it without stops and starts, but this quilt I am stopping and starting on this. Stops and starts don't bother me. I'm not entering this quilt in a competition. This is my own quilt and it's going to be a wall hanging, so I'm not worrying about the rules that I need to follow for a competition quilt. The thread that I'm using is a YLI Long Arm Pro, and the color is whole wheat, and it's a text 40 thread, so it's a fairly good size weight thread. It's pretty a common weight thread, and yet it blends with the background real well. And as close as I can get to this applique, you're not going to notice this thread at all once I'm done with the quilting. A little bit about this quilt. This title of this quilt is Blue Tigers 2, so it gives you a clue that this is the second time that I've made this quilt. The original quilt, Blue Tigers, was originally meant for competition. It was a fabric challenge quilt for a Machine Quilters Showcase several years ago. I didn't get it done in time for the competition, but I did go ahead and finish the quilt. And the quilt has been sold, and the main focal point of this quilt is an applique of our family cat. And when I sold the quilt, my daughters weren't real happy with me because that was a quilt of their cat, and they didn't think I should have sold it. So I promised them that I would remake the quilt. And I've had this top finished for about 2 years, and it has been sitting in line waiting to be quilted, and this fall is when it's going to be done. It's a whimsical quilt for the most part, but you will see the applique of the cat in another video, that it is made from a photograph of our cat, and but I made it with blue and white and tan fabric, so that's not the color that she was. Our cat Noelle passed away this past winter. She was 16 years old, so she had a long life. But she was a calico cat, but I wanted this to be a whimsical quilt, so I made her blue. And she had some tiger stripe in her, so that's why it was called Blue Tigers. And I have tiger lilies and the tiger butterfly in there. So these were just a variety of different tiger type features in this quilt. And here I'm still using the versatility to go around one of the, I believe this is a coneflower. Like I said, this is a whimsical quilt. These aren't the real depictions of the flowers. They're just my version of them. And here I'm using the Archangel by Mindy Wiley. This is the one that I am the most comfortable with, and it fits real well in my hand, even though you can see the way I'm gripping this now. This is not the best for the health of your hand to grip it like that. So if you can, keep your hand flat on your rulers. That'll be better for your joints. I do have arthritis in my hands, and gripping the rulers with my fingertips is not the best for them, but I've gotten into that bad habit, and it's just hard to break. So I've switched back now to the Versatile, and you can see that now I'm using the concave curve in this one, and I'm not using it to go to match around with the curve. I'm just using it to kind of slide the ruler. I'm sliding the ruler and the hopping foot down, kind of keeping it nestled in the center of that curve. You just need a little bit of stability, a little bit of support to keep yourself on line. I mean, you can do quilting around applique with just a straight ruler, and it will work just fine. It's just something that you have to learn, you have to get used to, and just use what works best for you. And here I'm using it to match up the curve. That's the top of the cat's head, I believe, and around her ear, and that matches up with the curve real well. And now here I'm going back to sliding, and you can see I slid that ruler underneath the applique. This is fusible applique, but for some reason not all of it fused well. I was using Wonder Under by Pellon, which is usually a really good fusible, and I don't usually have trouble with it, but I think it has to do with the fabrics that I had in this quilt. There's a lot of batiks and hand-dyed fabrics in this, and even though I normally pre-wash all of these fabrics, and I know the green that I just lifted up, that was pre-washed. I'm not sure if it's just because I waited so long to quilt this, or if I just didn't take enough time when I steamed it to make the fusible permanent that it came up. But I'm going to show you in another video how I fix that so that I can get that back down and get it secured so that I can continue on with the quilting. And this ruler works really well for straight lines and as well as curved lines. I'm using the straight edge on the stem, And it's just one of my favorite rulers. I use this also for stitching in the ditch with blocks, and just whenever I need a short little straight line on anything. So I would recommend that you try a couple of different tools and see what you like best. You may find one that works for just about anything that you want, and you may find that there are a couple that will give you what you need for the work that you do. So that's about it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and if so, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and thanks for watching.